Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Breyer, or Tuvia Breuer, and much to the disappointment of a lot of people, I am the Messiah. There is no other Messiah. I am it. Hold on to your hats, because this is going to get really weird. Tonight, I would like to address an especially unusual and disturbing subject. It is the squirrel. They are ubiquitous in the vicinity. Now, I would like to turn our attention to the commentary of Rashi on the Pentateuch. That is the 5 books of Moses, or Raisa. We have a klal in the yeshivas, or a long-standing tradition, that we learn the pshat in the mikra according to Rashi. That means that for all intents and purposes, his interpretations are considered infallible. Rashi states that all animals are demons. This would include even small, cute, fuzzy little animals. That is precisely their disguise. They are, in fact, evil creatures that mean harm to mankind. We should not be fooled by their attractive appearance. There is also a notion in Judaism, not necessarily coming from Rashi, that we live in an upside-down world. That would mean that the smallest are the greatest, and the greatest are the smallest. Growing up in New York City, I was always surrounded by squirrels. They are a commonplace feature in the Big Apple. No one bothers them, and they don't bother anyone. I always liked them, but other people hated them. They thought they looked like rats, but with big bushy tails. I thought they were cute. I defended them time and time again. What I did not realize all those years was that they were and are demons, even and especially according to Rashi. The fact that they are cute and small disguises their demonic intentions. They are sentient, but they are not fully in control of their own actions. What I mean by this is that they are uncontrollably hostile in an undetectable way. To do this, they project human images of themselves to interact with people. That is why they are called demons. The same squirrel that you see running up and down a tree could be the janitor in a fast food restaurant. The janitor you see is but an illusion. It is projected magically by the squirrel so as to enter human society. The squirrel is a type of Baal. That means it's a stone statue. This particular one is brownish-gray or taupe in color, but has been painted green and yellow to disguise this, and so as to resemble an Israeli soldier's IDF uniform. It approximately resembles the shape of a squirrel or a related species like a ferret. There is essentially just one specimen in existence. It is a privately owned statue located in the borough and county of Queens. It is worshipped as a deity of sorts. It essentially represents the Israeli armed forces and the Israeli parliament and/or prime minister. It is worshipped by bowing down to it. Even a nod of the head will suffice. This is how it spawns. This is the origin of the squirrels of New York City. Originally, there was just one. They are so acrobatic that they appear to fly from limb to limb amid the treetops, telephone wires, and chain-link fences. They eventually reincarnate into the flying squirrel. It is aerodynamic, but it only glides. The membranes of skin between its legs function like a parachute. In the Holy Land, it is the Israeli paratrooper, or Tzanchanim. This is the origin of Rocky the Flying Squirrel. a cartoon character from the 1970s show starring Bullwinkle the Moose, who might have served as the inspiration for Wally World of National Lampoon's Family Vacation, a risque comedy from the 80s. The squirrel can also be other things as well. It's a Singer sewing machine. It's a pneumatic drill. It's Elvis Presley, and, in our generation, it is mostly Taylor Swift. You heard me right. Taylor Swift is a squirrel. She is called by that name because the squirrel has a swiftly moving tail. You can see it bobbing up and down rapidly when it scampers. In this regard, it resembles a sewing machine. That's why she's called Tailor. It's because tailors do mending and alterations. It also moves up and down because it resembles the motion of a sewing machine operating. That is also why she's a singer, because that's the brand name. Every so often the squirrel needs to file its teeth down, just like every so often you need to replace the sewing needle in a sewing machine. The feminine form of the word singer is songstress. The feminine form of the word tailor is seamstress. That is because she is an illusionist. It's an hypothetical word that comes from the root seem, spelled S-E-E-N. In Hebrew, a seamstress is called a toferet. It comes from the words toe and ferret. They were spoken by me in English to my grandmother at the beach here one time when she saw me burrowing my toes into the soft sands of the seashore. Remember that my grandmother was the Shekhinah. She was also considered a witch woman and somewhat of a psychic. She could bring about realities with but a thought. She created the toe ferret and the undertow. That's why it exists in New York City waters. It's dangerous. It can drag you down to the bottom of the ocean floor and drown you. Yes, she was that kind of a person. She was the angel of death made flesh. Ultimately, she was responsible for the creation of Miss Taylor Swift. When I was a small boy, I met her for the first time. She was then in the form of an Israeli boy by the name of Udi. I believe it was short for Ehud. I believe that the name Ehud was meant to convey the Yiddish word a hund, meaning a hound dog. I was only 6 years old at the time. He was very insulting and rude. He liked to switch pronouns and call boys she while he called girls he. He used the Hebrew language and his accent as an excuse. The school teacher aided and abetted him in this ruse. He was disgusting to look at because he had huge amounts of earwax in his ears, and he refused to remove it. His parents did not take care of him properly. I once played a trick on him, and he gave me a look that I interpreted as meaning he would never forgive me. Little did I know that he was Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and that their role is to stop the Messiah. They make a judgment as to whether they deem the generation's potential Messiah worthy of the position. I am this generation's potential Messiah, and I am worthy, but they won't give me the position because they have exceeded their programming. That is precisely what they are. They are not human beings, they are artificial or mechanical men. They are angels. In Hebrew, this is malachim. This does not mean that they are good or that they do good. Instead, it merely implies that they are sent to earth from heaven to perform a task. To do this, they are empowered by God to emulate human behavior, and their illusionary skin passes as human. They have a duty to perform, and yes, they are shirking their duty. They have rebelled against God. They are renegade angels. They are corrupt. In summary, I would like to call for the voluntary destruction of this stone statue, a worshipped idol, either by its owner or by the United States federal government by means of declaring eminent domain, possibly compensating the owner for loss of property. I would also like to ask the municipal government of the City of New York to control the squirrel population. I believe this is mostly the responsibility of the Parks Department, as the squirrels live in nests that they build in treetops. I would also like to know about the disposition of a certain safety deposit box that contains my belongings. The last I saw of it was in the vault of a savings bank that uses an acorn as its symbol. That is a staple diet of the squirrel. I believe they're all connected, as I have ample reason, according to my religious belief system. I fear they might be using the items as a fetish, totem, or voodoo doll to control or harm me. An acorn comes from an oak tree. An oak leaf is supposedly a holy symbol of the Druidical religion, and they are said to have built Stonehenge. It gets even weirder. The squirrel is also my belly button lint, or fluff. It contains a small amount of foul-smelling substance that comes from within the navel. That's what makes it a bowel. It's a sort of waste product, not altogether unlike feces. It is worth mentioning that squirrels urinate and defecate all over New York City. The problem with that is that I inhale some of the airborne particles from that waste matter. It's a minute amount, but it's enough to cause damage. They might also have a scent gland for spraying pheromones, and there might also be some sebum in the fur that they shed. All of these chemicals are ingested by my body when I breathe in. This in turn causes evil to happen. Squirrels have eyes on the opposite sides of their head. They can cast a curse on a person simply by looking at them through their left eye. It's dangerous. This takes place every day, and no one notices it because there are no special effects in real life when someone or something uses magic. Those fancy light displays happen only in the movies and in video games. They are inorganic constructs that mimic living organisms to the extent that they can pass our medical examinations. Their bodies are illusory, but are thoroughly convincing even to experts. There is no equipment that can see past this glamour. It sounds like fantasy, but unfortunately it's not. And that's what makes it so hard for us to believe it's true. It's because it sounds like something from out of a Tolkien novel. It's old-fashioned witchcraft, and it still works. In fact, it works better than ever. It goes undetected because people nowadays see themselves as sophisticates and thus above superstition, which they mistakenly see as folly. I have seen Taylor Swift in the area more than once. She sat next to me as I rode on a public bus. There were many other people on the bus, and they saw me talk to her. The bus cameras should have picked it up, yet I have no doubt that she has an alibi. She can easily verify her whereabouts elsewhere at that time. It is easily explicable as coincidence by saying that it was a look-alike. The odds are against it, but with the ID to back it up, she's not Taylor Swift in law. It's worth mentioning that the bus was passing by a kosher supermarket that contained many Israeli imports. I believe that's where she came from inside those canned goods. I believe their cylindrical shape might make them a phallic symbol to many, and thus the contents of the canisters are susceptible to idol worship. You know who else she is? She's Jamie Farr. That's Corporal Klinger from MASH. He's Lebanese, but in Judaism, the Lebanon is considered neither Eretz Yisrael nor Chutz La'aretz. He might even be a Maronite. That's a Christian sect that uses a Bible written in Syriac. It's a Semitic script that's midway between Hebrew and Arabic. They self-identify as Arameans. She sometimes appears as a cleaning woman. She has taken the name Louisa. She named herself after a pet squirrel named Louisa that was adopted by the building. I used to feed and play with it as a child. I let it crawl up my pant leg to fetch a peanut. She was named after the doorman Louis, who discovered her. He passed away a few years ago, retired, drunk, senile, and alone. As a cleaning woman, she puts dirt in people's faces by cleaning up in front of them. This is a recognizable sign. Other varieties of Baal do this as well. It's a clever trick, but not clever enough to fool us. The squirrel, as a cleaning woman, also has a recognizably shaped anus. They also leave behind a telltale odor. In the United States of America, they represent the Electoral College. It is they who determine who will be president, not the popular vote. That could well make them the most powerful body politic in the land. Think of that come next Inauguration Day.